Hey guys, and welcome to an episode of Rustic Meets Modern. We're going to be taking a look at a WZ Reliable electric 3000 watt inverter today. Hopefully you guys can learn a few things from the video, and hopefully I can help you out along the way. Alright, so I already opened this up and took it apart just a little bit, but I wanted to show you guys the unboxing mostly for one reason, and that's to show how well that they actually did on boxing this thing up. If there's any damage in shipping, they had to be really rough with it. They seem to do a pretty good job. Starting us off, they do send you some battery cables. We got two positive, two negative here, color coded. The cables they send you are 10mm cables. Just quick Google search will show that 10mm cables are rated for somewhere in the range of 65 amps a piece. We have two positive, two negative, so that should bring us to a grand total of like 130 amps. Also in the box, we got a couple terminal covers, spare fuses. These do have internal fuses for your battery protection, and of course the board protection. Instructions also come with it. These are from China, and so I think they do an okay job on when they put their manuals together, but they could be just a little bit better. I do believe it's more of a generic manual that's meant to cover a couple of their inverters, so some of it is going to be a little bit confusing just because it's for more than just this inverter. They got it wrapped on with foam on both ends. That is some beefy foam. That's like at least an inch of foam all around. Some places it's like 2 inches of foam. This guy is pretty well sufficiently protected. Comes in a sealed plastic bag. I already had opened this up once though. And there you have it. Pure sine wave inverter, but this is not branded from Reliable Electric. Chanlai? Show that to you guys right there. So it's not Reliable Electric branded, but that is who it's from. Even the sticker on the back says email is info@powerreliable.com. So it is from in their online stores, reliableinverters.com. So it is from Reliable Electric, even though it's not branded that way. That's kind of interesting. I wonder why they do that. I don't know. Before we get into mounting this up and trying this guy out, let's open it up. And while I might not be the expert here, hopefully we got some viewers that are going to be watching that can drop some comments down below that really know the details of some of these electronics. So let's open this guy up real quick. Alright. Pop this guy up here. Bring this up real close for you guys to see. While we're taking a look at it here, I'm gonna play overlay so you guys can see all the components here a lot closer. But one of the ones that I will take notice, because I think this is pretty important, is the wiring off the back side of the lugs here. And we have two groups of two, so we got 4 there, and then 2 groups of 2 coming off the positive side. So we got 4 strands of 6mm wire coming off of each lug here. 6mm wire puts you pretty close to about 50 amps rated a piece. So we're looking at about 200 amps total. And then if we take 200 amps and times that by, say, 12.5 volts, it's going to bring us up close to about 2,500 watts worth of power able to be flowing through these. Now, I know the one thing that will kind of save us here is the extremely short run that each one of those wires is needing to make. Each one of those wires is protected by 80 amps worth of fuses. They got double 40 amp fuses here. So they're saying each wire should be good for 80 amps. I know it's a really short run, but by their specifications, if it is good for 80 amps, you're going to be looking at a little over 3,500 watts of power available. This guy is only rated to produce 3,000 watts, so by their specifications, it should be good. But probably that's the first thing I notice here. I wouldn't mind seeing those bumped up from like a 6mm up to a 10mm wire. I think that would probably make the difference that would really make me feel comfortable. Most of the time, most of you are probably not going to be pulling 3,000 watts of power consistently for hours on end. And that's where I would have a concern with this. I have no doubt that it's able to produce 3,000 watts, but if you're expecting to use 2,800, 3,000 watts, something like that for hours consistently, I would maybe venture to say you might want to move up to a bigger size inverter. And coming off the front here, out to our terminal block, it looks like we have pretty well standard gauge 120 wire heading to that terminal block. You got a little bit smaller wire running to your front two outlets here. That is on the smaller side than what is running to the terminal block. That makes a little bit of sense. My concern with then running the smaller wires to the plug here on the front is that is, in theory, a 20 amp plug. I don't remember if on their website, and I will try and put that on the screen here. I'll double check to see if they're claiming this to be a 20 amp plug, but that is a 20 amp plug. So while it probably is sufficient under most cases, I'd like to see the size wire they have going to that terminal block also be the same size wire that they have going to your front plug. I'd say that you should be good on 15 amps. If you're going to be using 20 amps consistently, you know, that continuous draw power, use that terminal block. I think that would be a lot better there. We're gonna hook this guy up to a heat gun here that says it's rated for up to 1,600 watts. So that is gonna be a lot of amperage coming out of one battery. We'll give it a try on this, but we might need to go fetch a second battery to be able to get this system to power up something even as large as a single heat gun. So if all you have is one single battery and you're attaching a 3,000 watt inverter to it, don't expect it to actually put out 3,000 watts. 3,000 watts at 12 volts or 12.5 volts is 240 amps. You should absolutely, bare minimum, have two big batteries this size to be able to power this at its full capacity. And really what I think even the manufacturer recommends either on their website or in their manual is 300 amp hours worth of battery bank, which would give you up to 300 amps worth of draw. That's not going to make that number, so you are well within the parameters. But let's go ahead and hook one up and see what we can get. When you hook these up, you don't have to do one versus the other first, but I like to do positive first for really one reason only. And that is, and this will apply for like your vehicles too. When you hook up the negative is going to be connected to not only that negative lug, but like this entire box is probably also tied in with the negative system. That means any exposed metal could be a potential hazard if you applied a positive terminal to it. In the process of hooking things up, you got floppy wires going everywhere. Hook your positive up first, because that's only connected to that lug right there, or actually in my case going to the bus bar first, but nothing else is positively charged. Hook up our negative next, but here's a crucial step. If I were to hook this straight up to the battery, sparks would go flying. Inside of here is all sorts of capacitors that are going to soak up a ton of energy really fast. So if you were to just hook this straight up, it would spark like crazy. That's not good for the machine. The inrush of that much power can cause stuff to go bad, but also for your personal safety. If you're indoors, you don't want to be starting fires. If you're not wearing eye protection, those sparks could go right into your eye, cause really big issues. So get yourself a resistor to pre-charge the system with. This guy is just a 10 watt resistor. I'll try and find where I got this from, but it was off of Amazon. I'll leave the link for these down in the description too, and or something like them. But they've worked pretty well, so go ahead and take that, touch it to the battery, and you'll be perfectly fine. Touch that one end of the resistor to the battery and the other end to your battery cable. Hold that for a few moments. All a resistor does is limit how much power can go through at one time. And so remember, those capacitors, they got to take up some juice. So you don't want to just touch it to this real quick and then apply it to the battery terminal. Those capacitors are probably not charged up enough at that point. But after you hold it on there for a few moments, you know, give it a good 10, 20 seconds, something like that, you should be good to go. And no spark. Any units that are about 500 watts and under, 500 watts will still produce some sparks, but 500 watts and under will not produce too much of a spark. This for sure, this size, get yourself a resistor. They're only a couple bucks online. Links down in the description for you guys. We got it hooked up. We should be good to go now. So we'll flip the switch here and see if it blows up. Fans kicked on. We are outside. It's a pretty sunny day. Black box being in the sun for a while, it's probably hot enough for that to turn on right away. But we're showing 12.1 volts, and the numbers are a little bit funky here. I'd almost say the display is a little bit bad, but you're looking at 118 volts. If everything works well, it should turn on. So if you hear that tone there, that's not actually saying that we're maxing out the system yet. What that is a low voltage alarm. If you can hear, the fans had just kicked off. So as we turn this on, there's low. That draws us down to about 11.3, 11.1, 11. And if we kick that up on high, we're down to 10.5 or something. It's hard to read out here in the outside. But as soon as you turn it off, the alarm goes off. And I guess the fans had cooled the unit off enough just from the sun that they're back off. I did notice that they were on, and as soon as I turned this on, they even kicked up to a higher speed. So that's pretty cool. However they did that it'll notice an increase in load and ramp the fans up even higher. But this one single battery is not enough. Let's go grab a second battery and see how it does with two. So now we got two batteries hooked up. I'm still using their original cables that they sent with the kit. But I do have some other battery cables here that is, these are 16 millimeter cables. And I think these are, yeah, they're 4-gauge cables there. So each one of these would definitely be rated for even more than these would. If I was putting this into a long-term setup, maybe you got a little tiny cabin or something like that you're wanting to hook up off-grid. If you're planning on using these in a more full-time mode, do yourself a favor, just get yourself a bigger battery size for hooking this up permanently. Something I had forgotten to mention about these is when you turn it on, it's not instant 120 volts. It ramps up the voltage, and so it actually would go from, it goes all the way 0 across about 3 to 5 seconds worth of time, all the way up through the voltage column. That could potentially cause an issue to sensitive electronic devices. So anything of really big value, I would leave unplugged from here when you turn that switch on. You can turn this on while leaving the power strip off, let that voltage ramp up, and then turn this on. Let's see how this guy does. So just on the fan, we're still showing like 12.8 volts. We'll kick it on low. That dropped us down to about 12 volts, and then if I turn it up on high, we're holding, with it on high, we're holding right around 11.1 volts. That should be right in that 1600 watt area. So the wife went in, got a hair dryer. This is 1875 watts on high power. A little bit more than our heat gun is. Let's see how a hairdryer does. And that drew us down to about that 11.1 volt mark. So we're gonna see how this does. I don't know that it's gonna work. we got 2 devices here that'll definitely bring us over 3,000 watts. I just don't think it's gonna quite let us do it very well because it's coming out of the same plug. But I'll do it so you guys don't have to. So if it catches fire, we have fire extinguishers. It'll be in good shape. We'll put this guy on low. We'll also put this one on low. All right, we're gonna ramp it up a little bit. Heat gun's on high. This is on low. Moment that you guys might have been waiting for. Let's click her on to high, see if it trips out. So overall, it passes my initial impressions. We're gonna put this guy into use for a little while. So this system will be making sure that the security system stays up and running, and also it's hooked up to the chicken coop so that we can turn on the chicken coop lights every night. But we're gonna throw this guy into use for about a week, and we're gonna get back with you about what our thought is. So overall, we've been using the inverter for a little over a week now. It's been doing phenomenal. It runs our Wi-Fi, it runs our security system, all that kind of fun stuff. Even keeps our phone online, because a lot of times if we lose power, we can still use the phones. So it's been doing really good for just running those light loads. We've been using it on the chicken coop. I've been testing it out, running some other stuff, even like the refrigerator. It's ran the refrigerator just fine. So if you're looking for a little backup system, worked awesome. Power went out for a little bit today even, and you know, we were able to turn some lights back on, get done what we needed to get done. So overall, no hiccups so far, about a week and a half in. We will do maybe an extended length review at some point, detailing how it's been doing over the long haul. But we'll try and keep this video as short as possible, so any hiccups come up, we'll be sure to let you guys know in another video down the road. But so far, Reliable Electric 3,000 watt inverter has been doing pretty good for us. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the content. I know it was pretty well on the long side, but a lot of details to cover. Any questions, drop them down below, and check out that description for any of the equipment that we used in this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.